This is the Retirement Key Podcast with Justin Dobak, financial advisor of Abish Financial Services.
Welcome back to the Retirement Key. I am Casey, and I'm here with financial planner Justin Dobak of Abish Financial Services in the Washington, D.C. area. Justin, great to see you as always.
Yeah, always good to see you, Casey. It was nice seeing you down in Atlanta, too, a few weeks ago. It was good seeing you.
It sure was. I wanted to check in with you and see how your wedding planning's going. I know you got a big year ahead.
It's good. It's good. I know last time we chatted, we got the venue, we've got the caterer now, and I'm on band duty. Which,
you got the fun job.
I got the fun job. So we're in the middle of that. I think we found someone we really like.
Okay.
But yeah, everything's come together. We're still a few months out, but it's fun work. Supposed to be fun work. If my fiance is listening, I'm having an awesome
You're
time.
having a blast. I love it. All right. Well, I'm so excited to chat with you again today and to help more people plan for their successful financial futures. Remember, you can connect with us anytime. TheRetirementKey.com is where to find us, or all the info you need is posted in our show notes for you. Now, Justin, you and I have talked about ways we can prepare for retirement, and we've talked about just how much do you need to retire. And so I thought today maybe we could chat about some mistakes to avoid when planning for retirement. What do you think of that?
I love it. And again, something I talk about on a daily basis. So let's kick right into it.
Perfect. All right. First one, I've made a list. Now, this one, it might sound pretty obvious, but it's actually a huge issue for a lot of retirees, and that is overspending. So tell me what you think there.
Yeah. And, as a retirement planner, I always preface, and I know we talked about it last time, the retirement smile. So you got the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. And everyone gets gung-ho about those go-go years. And I want you to. But it needs to be controlled, all right? Very similar to lifestyle inflation in your working years, in your early career. As you start off, we're probably netting zero. We've got a, Toyota Corolla. We are, in an apartment, and we get that first big raise. And you're like, oh, man, I hate this Toyota Corolla. I want that BMW I've always had my highs on. And it grows, and that grows and grows. And it can translate all the way into retirement. Now, the focus is still enjoying your wealth, but sticking to that retirement income plan, that strategy that we've laid forth is vital in order to make sure we're not overspending, right? Because if we start depleting the principal of the portfolio, going back to that 4% rule of last time, 4% of 2 million, that's pretty good, but 4% of 1.5 million, 4% of 1 million, right? It just erodes away. And if those incomes are eroding away, the lifestyle has to follow. So something I really emphasize is building out that practiced, that principled budget, enjoying your money, enjoying life, but still being controlled. Really, really, really important.
For sure. All right, moving down my list. Financial mistake number 2 to avoid. And that's miscalculating inflation, because inflation can have a huge impact on your retirement. So tell me what we need to avoid here, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just look back at, we all hear the stories of what my parents paid for a home and now what I'm paying for a home, how much carton of milk costs at the grocery store, right? This is something that is inevitable. Inflation is going to happen, and the Fed's, everyone hears this, the Fed's long-term goal is to keep inflation to 2% each year. Well, newsflash, if you haven't paid attention the past few years, inflation has been a huge problem. 2022 shooting up to the high 8%. As of the end of last year, inflation was still at 2.3% in November. It's up back to 2.9%, and actually as of December, 3.2%. It's becoming a problem again.
Yeah.
This is something that is eroding away your purchasing power. Now, again, like I said, unavoidable. There are plenty of ways to compensate for it. The number one inflation tool, equities, stocks. Those have historically beat inflation out every year since the late 1800s. So that is always a key part of every portfolio. But right as we get to those later years of retirement, we can't have 100, 90%, 80% stock portfolios. It's just not, the risk is too great. It doesn't make sense. And so still using other vehicles, probably my favorite are TIPS, Treasury Inflation Protected Securities.
Ooh.
This is something that receives basically a cost of living adjustment from the federal government. So this is something that's those safe vehicles that still have the ability to match and beat inflation while being cognizant of protecting that principle. So going back to the first problem of overspending, we can still utilize those 4% rules for distributing in retirement.
All right. So another huge factor I think retirees might not think enough about when planning their retirement, medical expenses. There is a big risk of underestimating those. So tell me how we can avoid this.
Yeah, and really, I think the number one thing that jumps to mind is individuals retiring before 65, Medicare, all of that. If you have to go to the marketplace for insurance before 65, you can basically chalk it up to $1,000 a month per person. Not household, per person. This is a huge expense. Now, something that we take into account in our plans, of course, but this is kind of where maybe working longer, if cash flow isn't there to pay for those expenses, that may make sense. Also talking about long-term care, I think the stat is roughly 35% of Americans at some point in their time are going to have a long-term care event. Now, on average, right, generalities here, long-term care events, assisted living, assisted care, all of that, it roughly cost $10,000 a month. A huge expense. Now, these long-term care events typically go anywhere from 1.5 to 2 years on average. I don't have my calculator with me right now, but some basic math to the listeners, that's a lot of money, a lot of money. So planning for life's curveballs is a key part to everybody's sound financial plan.
Right. And we know it's not fun to think about, but it's so important. So I know a huge question you get all the time from clients, Justin, is when should I claim Social Security? So that brings me to number 4 on my list of mistakes to avoid when planning your retirement, and that's claiming that Social Security too soon. So what are your thoughts here? When
you reach 62, it is a new benefit that is available to you, right? At 62, we can file. Money is on the table. Now, I've caught myself a few times saying, hey, it's free money. Just take it. And no, it's not, because your entire life you've been paying Social Security tax. Now, getting into the nitty-gritty of it, there is no blanket recommendation to Social Security. And Casey, I know we talked about that on previous podcasts, but filing too soon, saying, oh, I want that, I just want the benefit, I want it now. This can be good and bad. Yeah, that is income. It absolutely is. But when we start looking at the overall picture, if we see some opportunities for tax planning, Roth conversions, things like that, taking that benefit, taking that income increases our taxable income, reducing those opportunities for tax planning strategies, as well as you get the smaller benefit. Now, obviously, deferring Social Security is one of the greatest investments out there. And I know that sounds funny for me saying that, but what other investments out there guarantee a return of 7% every single year you defer till 67, and then once you get beyond 67, you get an 8% increase to your benefit every single year you defer. Of course, going to 70 is when Social Security says, you got to take the money now, okay? I always preface this in my meetings. I say, let's talk about the opposite side of the spectrum. If you are to defer until 70 to receive your maximum benefit, there's a break-even point to everything. And that break-even point is around 81 years old. If you are to file at 70 years old and you live one day beyond, I think it's 81 and 7 months, don't quote me on that,
Specific.
You have made a more lucrative decision. Okay? But that's when we start talking about what's family health like, what's current health like, longevity, things like that. That's why there's never a blanket recommendation, but me educating clients on the pros and cons of filing sooner or filing later, how that plays into the overall strategy, and what is the most beneficial decision.
For sure. And it's different for everyone.
It is.
Closing it out here, number 5. And that's, of course, that we want to avoid retiring too soon. So what should future retirees be thinking about here so that they can avoid tapping out too early?
That's exactly right. I don't physically understand, right? I am right in the middle of my working career, but as you get older, I've seen it with my parents. You know, the desire to continue to work diminishes, and understandably so. You've worked your entire career, you've accumulated this mass amount of wealth, you want to start enjoying it. Now, the timing of that boils down to one of our previous podcasts of building out that income plan, saying, okay, if I retire today at, let's say, 62 years old, do I turn on Social Security? Do I have pensions? Do I distribute from the portfolio? What are my expenses going to be? And if expenses are strong, or strong is not the right word, but steady and within your means, yeah, it could work retiring early. But, you know, a lot of times, and I always say this in a joking manner, the longer a client works, the easier my job gets. There's more money to deal with. Each year that we work, right, there's more growth and accumulation. The benefits, Social Security, some pensions, they grow the longer we defer. It just makes my life easier. Now, it's not my job to say, make my life easy. Right. Work longer. That's not my job. My job is to build a plan that works for each individual client's goals and objectives. So, like the previous few answers, there is no right answer, but it's building out the time and date that works for them.
Right. And so all these mistakes that we've gone over today, that's your wheelhouse, Justin. That's what you're helping all your clients with. So to our listener tuned in today who is ready to get their retirement conversation started, what should they do? How can they get in touch with you?
Jump on the retirementkey.com. That'll link us to our website. You'll be able to schedule time to talk with me or another advisor on the team, build out a plan for you, and hopefully retire with some confidence and dignity.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Justin. And thank you for joining us today on The Retirement Key. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you never miss an episode. For Abish Financial Services, I'm Casey, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Justin.
Take care. Thank you, Casey.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Key Podcast. To learn more about Abish Financial Services, visit theretirementkey.com. Abish Financial Wealth Management is a registered investment advisor with the SEC. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and the content of this communication has not been approved or verified by the United States Securities and Exchange Commission or by any state securities authority. The information contained in this material is intended to provide general information about Abish Financial Wealth Management and its services. It is not intended to offer investment advice. Investment advice will only be given after a client engages our services by executing the appropriate investment services agreement. Information regarding investment products and services are provided solely to read about our investment philosophy and our strategies.